Hello and welcome to Little Learners. In today's video I'm going to be answering... I am knocking everything over. In today's video I'm going to be answering your questions. That's right, I asked you to ask me questions on Instagram, on YouTube, on Facebook, and you delivered. So let's look at some of those questions and see if I can answer them. So some of these are anonymous and some of them have names. So let's take a look. Okay, so we have one from cat_preschool_teacher, and she has asked, do you think there is a high chance for a non-native to find a job in EYFS in England? Lovely question, thank you for starting us off. Okay, so I don't see any reason why someone who is not native to England wouldn't be able to get a job in early years. Of course you have to have the relevant qualifications, and when you come from a different country, sometimes the qualifications that you have in another country don't quite match up with ones in England, so you might just need to research that to check that you have the relevant qualifications. But many of the teachers that I have worked with and also who I have been taught by during my own educational career have been teachers who have come from another country, maybe for a short period of time just to experience life in another country, or who have moved here permanently. So I don't think there is any reason why you wouldn't be able to get a job here as long as you can speak English fluently and you have the relevant qualifications. I think one thing with early years that some people can struggle with if English isn't their first language or if they have a very thick accent is phonics, and this is a problem for English people as well. So if you are from the north and you come down to teach in the south of England, your accent can prove to be a bit of an issue when you are trying to teach phonics. I had a lot of friends during my PGCE who were Irish who struggled a bit with phonics just because the way that they needed to be able to pronounce sounds and words in school was different to the way that they would normally pronounce them. So that's the only thing that I can really think might be a bit of a struggle, but definitely one that you can of course overcome, and many people do. Okay, so our next question is from Charlotte Lois 1. She asked, do physically smaller children struggle in reception? That is a great question. So obviously in reception we have children who turn 5 in September and children who turn 5 in August. So they're almost a year apart, and a lot of the time, not all of the time of course, but a lot of the time the younger children are physically smaller just because that's how bodies work. I've also had students who were premature babies, so they were born very early, and actually if they had been born on their due date they probably wouldn't have started reception until the next year. So they were actually very physically smaller than the other children as well. I wouldn't say that the height or kind of the smallness of these children really got in the way of their learning. I think that if a child is physically smaller and because of that they are having some trouble with their gross motor skills or their fine motor skills, then perhaps that can be a little bit of an issue. It might mean that they run a little bit slower because their legs are shorter and they have to work a little bit harder to climb and kind of those gross motor skills, but I really don't think that it gets in the way of their education, and I don't think that it's something that you need to be concerned with. But if you are, obviously do speak to your child's teacher because they will be able to reassure you and also let you know if there is anything that your child is struggling with and what they are doing and what you can do to help them. Okay, this next question is from Teach, Share, Laugh. They have asked, what year group do you teach? So in school I have taught reception and I absolutely love it. Before I became a teacher I also worked as a tutor in a private tuition company, and I taught children age 4 to 14. I have also taught some year 7 as well, so a bit of a mixed bag, but mainly reception. That is my forte, that is my background, and that is why I have this YouTube channel. Okay, this next question is from Educación de Colores, and the question is, from which age do children start learning to read? Great question. So a lot of the time I think people assume that children start to read when they get into reception, sort of 4, 5 years old, that's when they start to learn to read. And yes, of course, that is when we focus on children learning to recognise letters, sounds, put them together and read whole words. But there are lots of kind of aspects of reading that children can do before this time. So when children come to reception, some of them are able to recognise their name, some of them are able to recognise certain words, and they can also sometimes recognise certain numbers or certain shapes. And that recognition of shape, not just mathematical shapes, but the shape of what their name looks like or certain words look like, is very important. So if a child sees a sign for something and they know what that sign means, that is a part of reading. It's them deciphering something. Just because it's not a word, just because it might be a picture, that doesn't mean that it's not part of reading. Children, before they start reading, will look at lots of picture books and look at what's happening in the pictures, talk about what's happening and understand a story from a sequence of pictures. And that is absolutely part of pre-reading and very important. So from a very, very, very early age, children start to recognise certain symbols and signs and pictures and maybe letters and words around them. Often these are words or numbers that are very important to them. So if they see the number 4 on a balloon, they know that's a number 4 because they and all of their friends have just had their 4th birthday. So there is a lot of pre-reading that goes on before children start actually reading. In school, we will start teaching them in reception. Some nurseries may teach students some phonics before they get to reception, but usually reception is the kind of age that we start teaching children how to read. And honestly, it's the most amazing thing ever when a child comes in who has never been able to read before and they leave you being able to read a whole age-appropriate book. It's just amazing. Okay, this next question is actually from a friend of mine called Rob, and he asked, where do butterflies sleep? I mean, I didn't specify that these questions had to be about early years, so I guess it was fair game. I believe that butterflies usually sleep on the underside of a leaf, or sometimes they might find some other shelter in a pile of leaves or rocks or that kind of thing, but I think usually they like to sleep upside down on the bottom of a leaf. If you know anything more about that, do let me know. Okay, so now we're getting to some of the anonymous questions. Are you single? No, I am not. I am married to the absolute love of my life, and he'll be so embarrassed now that I'm saying this on video, but he is wonderful. I have been married just over a year. His name is James, and we had a wonderful wedding. It was an amazing day, and honestly, I love him more every single day. Okay, this next anonymous question was, what are you doing right now? So I guess I kind of missed the ball on that one, because the now that is now is not the now that was then. But let's kind of talk about that. What am I doing right now? I am making a video, but in larger terms, I am doing a master's degree at the moment in creative writing, and I am absolutely loving it. It has been, you know, it gets a little bit stressful sometimes. There are a lot of words to write, but I have met some amazing people through it, and I'm doing something that I really, really love. So I'm really enjoying that. I am enjoying being, I still think, newly married. I know I've been married for over a year now, but I still feel newly married. It's still very new to me. And in December, my husband and I bought our first home, so we have spent time kind of decorating and getting it exactly how we want. So it's been a busy time. And obviously I am maintaining my YouTube channel, so there's been a lot going on, and there has also been a lot going on behind the scenes that hasn't been as positive, but we won't dwell on that. Okay, this next question asks, what do you think of baseline testing? Well, if you would like to know what I think of baseline testing, you can click the card, wherever it is, and watch my whole video on that. I'll also try to remember to link it in the description box below so you can watch it after this video is finished if you like. But needless to say, I'm not a fan. Okay, this question asks, what can you wear to work when you are a reception class teacher? I think this is a great question, and some schools have their own rules about this, their own kind of uniform for teachers, and they'll say exactly what you're allowed to wear. But fortunately for me, I haven't really had that, and as long as you looked smart, it was fine. I think it's important to remember that in early years you are moving around a lot, you are getting very messy a lot, and you're kind of up and down all the time. So it doesn't make sense to wear a suit, because that's not going to be helpful for you at all. You're going to have to do a lot of dry cleaning. So usually in the classroom I would wear a dress and a pair of leggings. Never a pair of leggings as trousers, that was definitely not allowed. At my last school we weren't allowed to wear anything like jeans, or we weren't allowed to wear really strappy tops, but that was more because of promoting good self-care when it came to the sun. So they didn't want us having too much shoulder out, because we encouraged the children to practice safe sun protection. I also would wear flat shoes the majority of the time, because you're on your feet so much. It's not going to work if you're in heels all the time, unless you're the kind of person who can wear heels all the time. I'm the kind of person who sometimes has to walk with a walking stick, so it wouldn't have worked for me very well. So those were some of your questions answered. I hope you learnt something. If you have any questions for me, I'd love to do another video like this, so leave them in the comments below or send them to me on Instagram, any kind of social media. And I look forward to reading more of your questions. If you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up, as it really helps out the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.